So we start. Vayikach Korach ben Yitzhar ben Kehath ben Lewi. Then Korach, son of Yitzhar, son of Kehath, son of Lewi, took. Normally we would look for the definite direct object marker to see what he took. We're looking for an et. One of my students asked the other day, where's the et? Why isn't there an et here? And it's interesting because Rabbi Abarbanel asked the same thing. He says, Lakach Korach? Ma? Et ma? Korach. What did he take? And Abarbanel likes to do this. He likes to ask questions and not necessarily answer them. So it's good to at least think about the question, although he sneakily answers them. So Rashi points out that in the Tanchuma, that's a Midrash, it explains this passage yofi, beautifully. It says that Korach took himself to one side, splitting himself off, separating himself from the community, so that he could do a protest of Aharon being given the kahuna, right, the priesthood. And in the Targum Onqelos, the Aramaic Targum, the translation, it tells us that it translates, instead of took, it translates it as split off, right? That he split himself off. So he split off from the rest of the community. Certainly when the community is being righteous, for someone to do this, it is the act of a Rasha. And that's me adding, by the way. That's not from Onkelos. And he persisted in making a case against Aharon. So the verb lakach is used similarly to how your heart has carried you away in the book of Eov 15 verse 12. It has taken you to split you away from the rest of the Bnei Adam, the rest of the humanity. In another reading, Korach enticed the heads of the tribal councils. Among them, he took them with persuasive words, as in, Kach et Aharon, take Aharon, from Vayikra 8:2, or take words with you and return to Hashem in Hosea 14 verse 3. What's interesting is when he gets this title, notice we get a pretty long lineage for him here. Son of Yitzhar, son of Kahath, son of Lewi. But it stops there. It doesn't complete it to Ben Yaakov. So Rashi further comments, that's because Yaakov begged God not to have his name, the righteous name of Yaakov, our father, associated with this dispute. Quote, let not my personhood be part of their council. Let not my being be counted in their assembly. Genesis 49, verse 6. So where is Yaakov's name associated with Korach? It is in connection with the descendants' service at the Mishkan, with a song, a shir, where the full genealogy of Haman, the singer, is given. Because remember, Korach's sons, they survive. So right down to the son of Korach, son of Ijar, son of Kohath, son of Lewi, son of Yisrael. That's in 1 Chronicles 6:17 through 28. So the text goes on to say, the Datham, the Aviram, and Dathan and Aviram, along with, or together with, Dathan and Abiram. Since Reuben was camped just south of the Kohathites, these Reubenites took Korach's side in the quarrel. So if you look at any of the diagrams that are out there, you can find them, the way that the camps were set up, it makes sense that these guys were neighbors, you see? And so his neighbors took his side. He was very influential. Our tradition says that he was a wealthy man. He had been a foreman in Egypt. And so even though most of the Bnei Israel were poor, the foreman was able to get stuff for himself to the side. And he's always causing trouble with Moshe. When Moshe gave the commandment for the Betil Tachelet on the tzitzit, that's the little fringe of the colors in dispute. It's like an indigo blue or a violet. Some lexicons say violet, some say like indigo blue. We know it looks more like a blue the way it is in Israel today, but it's because it varies. The dye color varies depending on whether the snail dye is used in the sunlight or near to dusk, the color of the resulting thread will be different, right? So that's why that happens that way. And anyway, so it's interesting. So Rashi, pointing out this fact, he says, woe to the Rashaim, and oi, l're'ehem, woe to their neighbors. But why would Korach quarrel with Moshe? He was jealous of Elizaphan, son of Uziel, whom Moshe, by the mitzvah Hashem, had appointed as Rosh of the Kohathites. So Korach reasoned, my father was one of 4 brothers. The sons of Kohath were Amram, Ijar, Hevron, and Uziel. The 2 sons of Amram, the oldest, got the highest positions. One is king and one is high priest. Shouldn't I, as the son of Ijar, the second brother, so the second oldest, get the next position? But he appointed a son of the youngest brother of all as our chieftain. I am going to dispute this decision and get it canceled. So what did he do? He up and collected 250 chiefs, most of them from Reuven, his neighboring tribe. Elizur, son of Shadur, and his associates, they all got together, and he put prayer shawls on all of them that were completely techelet. And I think Rashi's probably getting this from the Shifra, right? So when Moshe gave the command to make the patil techelet, what did he do? He dresses everybody in talitot that are techelet. He makes the whole thing techelet, right? Like it's better. See, why not do the whole thing techelet? Right? I think there's another story that he also, with the mezuzah, instead of just putting the verses that should be part of the mezuzah, he puts a whole book of the Torah, a whole sefer Torah, or something like this. So he's a troublemaker. Okay. So then we get their genealogy. Dathan and Aviram are Bnei Eliav, the On, Ben Peleth, Bnei Reuven. So they're sons of Eliav, and also he got On, son of Peleth, Bnei Reuven. So they're Reubenites, right? Because of their position in the camp. Verse 2. Vayakumu lifnei Moshe, v'anashim mibnei Yisrael, chamishim u'matayim. So this is from Kum. So then they stood up before Moshe, and Anashim, men from the Bnei Yisrael, chamishim u'matayim, that's 250. So this word here, it's got a dual ending. It's from me'ah, which means 100. And when you put ayim at the end, that means 2 of those things. So even in Israel today, if someone tells you it cost matayim, that's 200, right? Shalosh me'ot is 300, me'ah is 100, but matayim is in the dual, so it's 200s, right? And chamishim is 50. Nisiyei aida kriyei moed anshe shem. Okay, so nisiyei, these are leaders of, or those who had been appointed of the aida, of the assembly. Kiryei Moed, those who had been called by the Moed, the assembly, Anshe Shem. So these were not nobodies, they were men of renown, men of name. And just, I would like to point out, since we oftentimes talk about what Shem means in Hebrew, this is yet another case where we're not talking about a literal name. It's the reputation. Just like when God says, my name shall resound throughout the whole earth, he's not saying, Yod-Hey, Wow-Hey, Yod-Hey, Wow-Hey, like some people fallaciously interpret that you have to say his name. He's talking about his reputation, his shame, who he is. And very often, this is the meaning in Tanakh. Verse 3. V'yikahalu al Moshe v'Aaron v'amru alehem. So then, they assembled against, al here in this case should probably be against Moshe, the al Aharon, and against Aharon, Vayomu, and they said, alehem, unto them, Rav lachem, you've got too much, you've got a lot, Ki chol ha'eda kulam, and for all of the community, kulam together, kedoshim is holy. Uvetocham, and in there's pronominal suffix there, toch. So this word, you might, if you learned it in the absolute, it's tavich, and this is just construct state. Toch means midst. So and, in, toch, midst, there. So and in their midst. And we have to supply is in English to make it make sense. Is Hashem. Okay, let me scroll up so we can, okay. Umadua tit naseu al kahal Adonai. So why tit naseu? So this is a hitpa'el, to do something to oneself. Nasa. Remember nasa, like NASA carrying things up. So why do you guys, it's plural, do you, with the u, plural, it's like carry yourselves up, lift yourselves up, exalt yourselves, all over kahal Adonai, the congregation of Hashem, the synagogue of Hashem. It's getting real. Verse 4. Vayishma Moshe vayipol al panav. Look at what a tzaddik. This is how Moshe handles this. So he, when, I'd probably say when for the vav here. When Moshe heard, and this second vav, this is probably a vav emphaticum. It's like showing for extra emphasis here, right? We don't have to say and, right? So when Moshe heard, he fell al panav, upon his face. Really, really something else. Verse 5. Vadaber el Korach. And he spoke unto Korach. The el kol adato, and unto all of his group, all of his assembly. Lemor, saying, Boker v'yoda Adonai et asher lo ve'et hakadosh v'hekriv eliv. Saying, in the morning, or by morning, then Hashem will make known. Here's our et, definite direct object. Asher, whom, lo, is his. Ve'et hakadosh, and who is the Holy One. V'hikriv eliv, when he presents the idea as an offering unto him. So this is causes to come near, that means presents. Ve'et asher yivchar bo yakriv eliv, and whom he will choose him to present, and we have to imply it unto him. Okay, so really there's a lot of action happening here. Very, very exciting. Zot asu. Kechu lachem machtot Korach v'chol adato. This do. This is from asa. It's a lamed hey verb. So the hey falls away. And this is imperative form, a command. Kechu, from lakach, take, lachem, for yourselves. Machtot Korach. This thing's like it's for handling coals, like a fire pan or something. Fire pan of Korach, the chol adato, and all of his group. Let them all get their fire pans. Now, that's interesting. We can infer something by this. The fact that they all have fire pans, what does that tell us? Okay. So, the fire pan was used in the offering, yeah? And up until the point of the establishment of the kahuna, all of the firstborns, the firstborn of a family, a bechor, it was his duty to offer sacrifices for the family. And so these are all firstborns. They're all firstborns. They all have machtot, fire pans. Okay. Now Moshe, he didn't think that anybody would dare to take him up on this offer that he's about to make, right? Especially since they all knew what had happened to Nadav and Avihu, right? But because they had been jerks to him, basically, and spoke to him antagonistically, he knew it was better than to rebuke them at this moment, right? They might have just stoned him. So that's Chizkuni. Verse 7. Utenu vahen, eish v'simu aleihem. Oi, I keep changing my names and names. Aleihem. Ketoret lifnei Adonai, machar. V'haya ha'ish asher yivchar Adonai hu hakadosh. So this is from Natan, it's a command form. The noon has fallen away. Utenu vahen. And, okay, so Natan, a lot of people, they just learn the gloss to give, but in priestly literature, oftentimes it's used to mean set or place, right? The same thing is true with seem. Seem usually means set or place, and sometimes it's used to mean give. So this is not give, it's set, vahen, in them. This is feminine, pronominal suffix plural, referring back to machtot, right? Okay. Put in them aish, fire, or the means of starting fire. Visimu, so look, here we even have Hebrew parallelism backing up my claim on Natan, right? Natan and seem, so have the same meaning. Visimu, and place alehem, upon them, ketoet. This is incense, or the means for making incense smoke. Lifnei Hashem, before Hashem. Machar, tomorrow. V'haya, and it will be, ha'ish, and the man will be, asher yivchar Hashem, who Hashem chooses. Hu hakadosh, that one is the holy one. Right? Meaning set apart. That one will be the one that's going to do the task. Right? Not saying, I'm holy, you're not, but it's saying, meaning chosen for this, right? Appointed. It almost has this feeling of appointed. And now look, he uses the words against him. Rav lachem b'nei Lewi. You have a lot, and this is probably vocative here, oh, sons of Lewi. I bet if we looked at Septuagint, it's probably in the vocative case there. And probably huye Lewi, right? Sons of Lewi. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, I have my fan off. It's kind of hot in here. Lo lanu v'lecha yihe kol hakavod Adonai. This is the end of part 1 of the Aliya Yomi. Please consider joining us at patreon.com/Hebrew Literacy in order to help us avoid YouTube censorship.